Hi there, my name is Marco Lopez, and today I want to share with you an idea that could absolutely change identity that you hold of yourself, that could absolutely change the amount of power that you feel within you, that you feel like you have access to on a regular basis. And this is going to show you how to tap into a greater power than you probably normally use. The idea of this can be summarized in the phrase entering into the spirit of it. And this is a phrase and an idea that I got from Judge Thomas Trord, who lived from the mid 1800s to the early 1900s. And he was an amazing, amazing thinker. When you read his works, you realize he knew something. He knew some very, very deep ideas that can help us. That can help us tap into a greater and a higher power that we have as individuals. So to introduce this idea, I want you to think about works of art. You know, it could be something like this. It could be a beautiful piece of music, a beautiful, fine recital that you've listened to, or an amazing painting that you viewed. It could be a poem that you read. Think of something that moved you. What was it about that piece of work that you found really moving? What was it about that work that really moved you on a deep level? Well, if you think about it, what happened was you entered into the spirit of the author. You entered into the spirit of the artist. In other words, you got yourself into a place where you allowed yourself to feel some of the things that the artist felt as he created that piece of art, him or her, that they created when they created that piece of art, that fine recital, that piece of art that you watched, that invention. It could be a pen, it could be an Apple mouse, right? So this mouse, if you look at it and if you really take a moment to contemplate and to think about it, you can get into the spirit of the person who created it, and you can start to feel some of the things that they felt as they were creating it. You can ask yourself, what inspired this person to create this thing, and how did they do it so beautifully, and what is it that I'm feeling right now? And what it is that you're feeling is a shared feeling with the person who created it, if you allow yourself to get into the spirit of it. Now, we've all seen people who go to recitals or go to concerts, and they listen to the artist, but they get absolutely nothing out of it. Maybe you were incredibly moved yourself, but the person next to you is like, yeah, it's okay, it was okay, right? But you're like, that was amazing. It made me feel all these things and I loved it. And you're crying and everything, or maybe a movie, right? But then the person next to you, they're like, it was okay. They didn't get into the spirit of it, you did. And so as we get into the spirit of a creation, we feel those feelings of the creator. And that helps us understand that everything really does have a spirit, kind of like Pocahontas, right? That every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name, has a spirit. It really is true that everything has a spirit if you think about it in terms of what created it. What was the creative power that created it? See, everything is created in the mind first, and then it comes to being in reality. And so whatever was in the mind is what created that thing. And so if we want to create something similar, or if we want to create something of our own, we want to get into the spirit of what it is that we want to create. We want to get into that mind frame, and then we can create masterpieces ourselves. We can be creators. Now, the idea that Judge Thomas Trord talks about in his essays is he suggests that we enter into the spirit of all things at once. What if you could enter into the spirit of all things? So instead of looking at a work of art, what if you looked at a mountainside, a hillside? What if you looked at a beautiful sunset, and you asked yourself, who created that sunset? And what is the feeling that comes from creating that sunset, that pure beauty that we experience? Well, it must have been a source of love. It must have been a source of life. It must have been a source of pure livingness, of pure life, and something that believes in the expansion of life. That's what must have created this thing. And you can do it for yourself as well. In fact, what if you were to contemplate yourself for a little while as a work of art, and you were to focus in on the most beautiful things about yourself, the talents that you have, how things have unfolded in your life to lead you to where you're at, how certain people have been placed in your life that have made such a big difference. If you go into the feeling of gratitude, what does that do for you? That gratitude can bring you into the spirit of who you are, into your spirit. See, our problem as people is that we get so lost in all these labels that we put on ourselves. We think that we are doctors or lawyers or housewives or fathers or architects or whatever it is, or that we are immigrants or whatever label you want to put on yourself. You believe that is what defines you. And maybe out of those that I mentioned, the closest one that I feel like could define me all the time would be father, because I don't know that would ever really, really change. But let's just take father, right? If father were a label that I held on to give me value, and then I lost my child and I wasn't a father anymore, I didn't have kids anymore, would that change who I am? Would that change the essence of who I am? The truth is it wouldn't. And so we want to be careful with any labels where we attach a meaning to a certain thing. If I were an artist and I said I'm a painter, right? And then I lost the use of both of my hands and I couldn't paint anymore, would that take away the essence of who I am? And that's the problem with all these labels that we put on ourselves. But what if we could go to the core, to the spirit of things, just like with the work of art? If we could go to the spirit of who created that, but I go to the spirit of me and I think, what is really in the spirit of me? Who am I at my essence? And one of the best ways to do that is to think of yourself, or maybe think of someone else as a little baby. Think of a little baby that you've held. Do you think that baby doesn't hold value because that baby doesn't make money? Because that baby doesn't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Because that baby isn't in their perfect ideal weight? Of course not, right? We know that baby holds innate value. At their essence, they're perfect. In fact, that baby is a great representation of essence. But we put all these labels on ourselves that skew and blur the value that we have of ourselves. What if we could go behind all those labels, right? Behind the doctor, lawyer, teacher, architect, author, all these things, that bodybuilder, fit person, runner, right? And what if we could go beyond that and say, I'm more than that? Recognize that I am much more than any of that. And we could go into the spirit of who we are. And in that recognition of the spirit of who we are, what do you think happens? Well, when we recognize the true value of who we are, we start to reflect that. And then we begin to expect the things that are in harmony with that true value of who we are. It's more than any of the labels that we put on ourselves. So if you feel a lot of pride because you're a doctor, because you are because you're a millionaire, or because you are a business owner, if you feel that value and it's attached to that, just know there's something greater, there's something more, there's something greater and perfect within you. And if you can tap into that, then you've got something. Then you've got something, because that is something that will never change. In fact, there's nothing that you can do to change that innate value that you hold. And so that really is the secret. That's the secret that I wanted to share, is entering into the spirit of things, but then realizing that you can look at yourself as a work of art, and you can enter into the spirit of you and feel the feelings of the feelings that created you, the feelings that led to who you are, the feelings that represent your essence. And when you recognize that, that is when you become a creator, because you're going to vibrate at a certain level, and you're going to attract all these beautiful things into your life, because you hold your worth at a much higher level than it would be had you attached it to anything on the outside. So recognize your worth, practice this idea, think about this idea of entering into the spirit of things, and see if you can enter into the spirit of yourself, and you can live from that place, detached from any material things or any titles or any ideas that you have hooked up to yourself, and just believe that you have an essence that is perfect, and see if you can release the beliefs that have hidden that essence from you. And if you do that, if you did that, ask yourself, how would your life be different? How would everything change for you if you lived from that place of essence? Think about that and live that way, and your life will be different forever. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.